So for this meditation, we're actually building on the meditation we did last week, where we focused on positive emotions, in particular 10 emotions that combined give us what we often think of when we think of happiness. They are love, gratitude, awe, amusement, inspiration, hope, interest, serenity, pride, and joy. Today we're going to work on the 6 that we didn't cover in part 1, and some of these are a little tricky, and I'll explain why as we go through the meditation. So go ahead and lie down or sit comfortably, whatever is appropriate for you. Your hands can be resting out at your side or in your lap. Your eyes can be open or closed. Giving yourself permission to put the outside world aside and be in this moment. Drawing our awareness into our breath. Simply noticing our inhalation and exhalation. Not trying to control the breath in any way. And at this time, we call to mind the feeling of hope. Hope is a tricky emotion because it is one of the few positive emotions that come from someplace or something uncomfortable. So we have hope when something bad has happened and we're hopeful that it will turn around, or we might have anxiety because we fear something might happen and we're hopeful. So hope often comes out of a discomfort. So see if you can bring up that feeling of hope. Draw to mind scenarios where you felt hopeful, and sit with it for a moment. Where does hope show up in your body? Do you find it combined with other feelings, such as fear? See if you can separate out the feeling of hope from any other feelings. Now go ahead and draw your awareness back to your breath. Allow those thoughts to float by. And now we call to mind the feeling of pride. Another tricky one because people are often reluctant to be boastful. So if they share their accomplishments, they might feel like they're showing off. So in this case, we're calling to mind pride in a personal accomplishment or pride in someone else's accomplishment. We're not exaggerating in a boastful way, but we're also not downplaying it like, oh, it was nothing. But we're seeking to explore the feeling of pride in its authentic form. So call to mind some situations that have inspired the feeling of pride. Notice where pride shows up in your body. You might even notice that you change your posture. You sit upright, lifting your heart and chest and drawing your shoulders back. Where do you notice pride in your body? And now go ahead and draw your awareness back to your breath, letting those thoughts go by. Now I'd like you to call to mind the feeling of inspiration. Now this is closely aligned with awe, but awe is more of that overwhelming emotion, that sense of wonder about the universe, which can prompt inspiration, but inspiration is slightly more practical. It's an inspiring speech. It's seeing someone pull through a difficult situation gracefully. Think about situations where you have felt inspired to do something. Where does inspiration manifest in your body? For example, sometimes if I have a creative idea, I'll actually feel it in my belly or in my heart. It might be different for you. When you feel inspired, how does it show up in your body? Now go ahead and return to watching your breath, noticing the inhalation and exhalation, allowing those thoughts to float by. Now we bring to mind interest. Interest can also be thought of as curiosity, something that gets your attention. For some people, it was interest that brought you to this meditation group, just a curiosity about what goes on. So call to mind interest and situations that inspire curiosity. Where does interest show up in your body? When something piques your curiosity, how does it feel on the inside? Physically as well as emotionally. Draw your awareness back to your breath, allowing those previous thoughts to float by. Just noticing your inhalation and exhalation. And now we call to mind serenity or peace. What does serenity look and feel like to you? Think about situations where you felt most at peace. Where does serenity show up in your body? Where do you feel it? How do you feel? And now draw your awareness back to your breath, inhaling and exhaling. And finally, we call to mind joy. Joy is often the key emotion that when people think of happiness, they're thinking of joy, and it is the most readily accessible one for most people. So call to mind situations that make you joyful and feelings of joy. Now tuning inward, where does joy show up in your body? How do you feel physically? And what does it feel like at the core? How does joy show up for you? Now draw your awareness back to your breath, noticing the inhalation and exhalation. If any thoughts surface, allow them to float by and return to your breath. I'm going to be quiet for a minute or two. If you choose to stop focusing on the breath and just allow yourself to rest in that no-mind state, that is fine. If thoughts surface, simply draw your awareness back to your breath. And slowly start to bring yourself back into the room, back into the present everyday world, wiggling your fingers and toes. You might rock your head from side to side. And whenever you're ready, you can open your eyes. And just like the first meditation, see if you notice some of these emotions showing up throughout your day. Inspiration, hope, interest, serenity, pride, and joy.